mouse. There you are. Asitsu, hello. How are you doing today? How's your week been? Okay, still networking. Are you? I guess like you're setting up your home network, right? That's what you were working on. I mean, it sounds like it's fun, but it's also a lot. All right, I'm gonna move Zilby's screen so we can see him because he's hanging out, but he's sitting up. Oh no, work network. 8 different sites. Okay, that's even more. Work network usually is a lot more involved. Which I suppose is good. Oh, that's probably right. But it also gets his face. All right, I'll tilt it down. Ah, that's maybe a little bit too much tilted down. All right, well maybe he'll sit down or lie down. Well, work networking sounds fun in another way. You probably get to play with much more expensive tools than you get to play at home, unless they let you borrow those for for home. Oh, Zilby, no, that's the camera cable. Let's give that there. All right, so we are on the custom status codes. Specifically recording the video. So that's gonna be fun. Oh, of course, of course. Mostly cheapest switches, which makes things a pain because of the various different systems. Oh, they're not consistent. Oh no. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, it's I really like the workplaces that realize that it's cheaper long term to spend a little bit more money, but have good, high quality, like long lasting, consistent interfaces and just everything else. All right, Zilby, you decided to okay, let's try a different angle. Maybe you'll like that more. Hello, Twisted Seed. How are you doing today? Guess we'll do the cargo temp thing first. So we'll pull down from the template, which I think is working for us. It worked yesterday. So I'm happy about that. why does VS Code try to like update their helper every like so often? It feels like every other time that I open VS Code. Maybe that's because I don't open up that often anymore, but still, it feels pretty often. All right, I've actually got this full screen now. I also don't know why VS Code sometimes, it seems to be the only window that does this, sometimes opens up larger than the screen that I have, which means, of course, that everything just is weird. Which is not necessarily what I want. Usually, I don't want weird. I just noticed this giant AI help here. Is this like Chat GPT over their content? Oh, you have to have MDN Plus, which I don't even know if I have an account with MDN. Okay, yeah, so they're using OpenAI, ChatGPT, probably feed it MDN stuff, and then Supabase for something else. Drama Duke, hello. You got the same ad 3 times with Twitch? Oh, I'm sorry about that. I haven't I don't run ads manually, so that sounds like Twitch just being Twitch and running lots of ads. So sorry about that. Also, hello and welcome. How's your day besides being ad laden? Well, this is pretty cool. I don't know if I want to sign up just to take a look at it though. I was kind of hoping they'd have a like try it out feature or something. It's going great. Awesome. Well, we just got started, so I just basically woke up. It is. I mean, it's a Wednesday. We're halfway through the week, which is always nice. And we're gonna be doing some recording. It's interesting to sort of like see this giant thing that has probably been here for a while because they have articles since July, and that I haven't like noticed that. Ads, what are those? I see surprisingly few. Don't read this, Twitch staff. I watch. Well, I haven't watched. I usually watch VODs on YouTube or something like that. So like I have a lot more views on YouTube than I have on Twitch these days. I do feel like I was getting more ads before, but also I don't remember who I'm subscribed to. So it's quite possible that I'm mostly watching the people that I'm subscribed to, and therefore, you know, just like forgetting which places give me ads and which places don't. Um, yes, this is actually really interesting. I wonder, like, you can sign up for free, so maybe I'll do this sometime. We can play around with their AI. And then also, uh, you just need a Firefox account. I do I have a Firefox account? You know what I need? I need a large I need a large cat cam for secret stuff. I don't think I have a large cat cam. Do I have a large cat cam? I do have a large cat cam. Here. Here's my secret stuff. You can have this. Maybe Twitch is freaking out about the other streaming platforms getting a piece of the pie. If that was true, then Twitch wouldn't also at the same time be uh, limiting your options for like streaming like at the same time to the other platforms, which is going to drive people away. I do feel that Twitch is making some decisions that are more fear based recently. But it's, who am I to say that? I don't know anything. At least not Twitch wise. Okay, do I have a I have a Mozilla. Okay, maybe I have a Mozilla account. Let me see. Okay, apparently I do. So you only get 5 questions? Wait a second. So let's go to AI help. Ask your question. Okay, so you log in and then you get 5 questions today. Okay, results based on MDN's most recent documentation powered by GPT 3.5. Okay. Responses may not be 100% accurate. Yeah. All right. Well, that's fun. So, well, we're talking about HTTP status codes. So, please describe HTTP, or I guess like what are HTTP status codes? Let's just start with something simple. It's a little bit annoying. Now I am zoomed in. It's a little bit annoying that they have this window that scrolls separately than everything else. I've always sort of been that's always been sort of like a not great to me. Prompt engineering, yeah, I have not practiced very much with prompt engineering, so I am not very good at it yet. Um, I know that there's a lot of people that will like write hundreds of characters in their question, basically to engineer that response that they really want to get. I've also been reading a little bit on prompt injection attacks, which I think is fascinating. So if you're running some kind of machine learning middle, where you're like sending stuff to OpenAI or someplace else, you can as a user you can maybe inject some data and like send it on. Kitty woke up. Hello, Kitty. Yes. Uh, Kitty's name is Zilby. And yeah, Zilby's a few years old. He wakes up every once in a while and then just changes position, which then I have to change the camera position. Like, I wish I could somehow have like 10 cameras around him so I could just choose which one to go with. But of course, he always wants to turn away from the camera for reasons. Okay, so HTTP status codes are codes that indicate the outcome of the HTTP request to provide information about whether a specific request business has been successfully completed or if there was an error. HTTP status codes are grouped into 5 classes: informational responses. These codes indicate that the server has received the request and is processing it. They're used for informational purposes and do not indicate success or failure. Yeah. There's also a 200 level that basically is the same thing. Uh, Request successfully received and has begun processing. Successful responses 200 to 299. These codes indicate that the request was successful and the server was able to fulfill it. The most common code in this range is 200 OK, which means the request was successful. Redirect messages 300 to 399. These codes indicate that the requested resource has been moved to a different location. The client might need to take additional action to retrieve the resource. Okay. Client error responses 400, 499. These codes indicate that there was an error on the client's side. They are typically caused by invalid requests or authentication issues. The most well-known code in this range is 404 not found. That is true, which means the requested resource cannot be found. I find it interesting that the 300 doesn't have a, like, the most common, which I believe would be like 301 moved permanently. Server error responses 500, 599. These codes indicate there was an error on the server side. They are typically caused by server misconfigurations or failures. The most well-known code in this range is 500 internal server error, which means there was an unexpected condition that prevented the server from fulfilling the request. I mean, like, it's as generic as you could possibly get, but like, yeah, it's there. Now, you get some links, which is good. So we have the HTTP status code, which is exactly where we were with this, and that is HTTP status. Yeah. Okay, so that takes you there. Interesting that they give you like these 401 unauthorized and 202 accepted when they're not referenced at all. That's interesting. So that's fun. One question that we're constantly having fun with on this channel is is the question of like, is a 404, should you give a 404 for something that a successful request for an item that doesn't exist in the database? So for example, if you go to like slash users or like, I guess, slash game slash 202, but that game with ID 202 doesn't exist, should that be a 404? So should I respond with a 404 error if the item the client is requesting cannot be found in the database? Let's see what it says about this. Yes, you should respond with a 404 error if the item the client is requesting cannot be found in the database. The HTTP 404 status code specifically indicates the server cannot find the requested resource. It is commonly used to indicate, okay, well, there you go. The the AI that says that says this clearly is we should just reference this. I You might want to check 205 reset content or misdirected request. What? Gone I could see, but gone usually means like the route is gone. 404, that one makes sense. So the links that it's giving are a little bit odd, but the rest of it is pretty cool. So yeah, if the only negative is that you only get 5 questions. If I do new chat, that just deletes everything that I had. And I still only have 3 questions. Okay. So I was hoping it would be like a new tab or something. So, well, that's pretty cool. Uh, let's see that. And then we had one more thing that was shared today, which is this. Apparently, JetBrains is releasing a new IDE just for Rust. Sure. Which is interesting to me because they're releasing isn't don't they have a new IDE that's been coming out and it's more like VS Code and it also supports Rust? You're querying an API for this networking equipment. One endpoint came back with a different status and a body than the request. The Open API says it returns a 200 or 422, but I get a 500 with status 422 in JSON. Great. Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, that sounds perfect. Well, at least one of the numbers was consistent. 422. What is 422? It's that's method not allowed, right? 4 422 is method not allowed. Here, let's ask the AI. Oh, unprocessable content. Server was unable to process the contained instructions. The status code is typically used when there's a problem with the data submitted in the request, such as missing or invalid fields. So it's yeah. Well, that sucks if you're getting a 500 and a 422. So you know something went wrong with your request, but it won't be able to tell you what because the server crashed. Because it attempted to do it anyways? That sounds fun. Okay, so Rust Rover, a standalone Rust IDE. Now, I remember for a while, wasn't Sea Lion was free or was like there was a demo or something like that. But then they rolled it up with everything else, and you have to pay for it. Okay, so early access program, they're making the Rust IDE available for free. And then Rust Rover, their IDE will be a standalone commercial IDE um, in next year. So 1 year. Looks like they're gonna stop they're gonna start supporting the plugin, which is used for their other IDEs. So you'll really have to use the Rust Rover, or you have to use that like integrated like this suite, which is obviously going to be the more expensive version. And of course, you can add that to Ultimate, which is their one and all. It's the everything. And they've joined the Rest Foundation. They didn't say it was what level. I don't. I would guess they would join at some level that like is going to actually be helping like make decisions, or at least be part of it and be aware of things happening before they are. But I mean that's going to be interesting. Do they have a list? I mean, so this is literally to Sea Lion download. I don't want to go to. Okay, I want to go to. Do you have? Okay, so where's your developers? Oh, Space. That's I think what it was. This is that new one they're working on. Oh no, Fleet. Fleet is their new one. The problem though is I'm not interested. Okay, so it's not available to download and try yet. They're still working on it then. Or at least it's not on this list. Unless I just missed it. No, I don't see it here. Um yeah, so I've never really been interested in purchasing an IDE. Like I'm using Helix. And then after that I could use, instead of that, I could use NeoVim or some other sort of like Vim like thing. I don't really have that much desire to go to a bigger sort of like all inclusive IDE. And then when I do, like VS Code is usually enough, and oftentimes is like not going to take up the memory of like a bigger, huge IDE, anyways. So I don't know. I don't really feel the need to like purchase an IDE for this. So probably not something I'm going to use, but something that's interesting here. I'll leave that up so I can add it to the description later, and we will go back to this. All right, what do we have open here? We have you. Let's move you off to the side. You're okay with hanging out here. You couldn't let go of Atom, so it took you forever to switch to VS Code. If anything, you might pick Zed next. I'm not familiar with Zed. Like it sounds familiar, but I don't remember exactly what like the feature set of it is, or like what the major call is. All right. I think we're about ready. We're gonna do with query per. Okay, we're doing not query params. We're doing status codes. That's what it is. Okay, and there's my objectives over here on the left. Let me turn on the little recording thing. Timers enable you. Let's turn off. Okay, so I want to turn off. So I re-added Twitch alerts this morning. So turn those off temporarily. Turn off kitty cat. Um, have you not been able to hear the audio? Oh, I had music. Sorry about that. I think I turned it off last night. Forgot to turn it back on again. So turn that off immediately too. Okay, so it should be nice and simple. I don't know how long this recording is going to go on for. I can't imagine more than like 15 minutes or so. Let's set that up. So if you haven't been here for one of these recording sort of sessions, I will kind of be reading chat. I will sort of be aware of it, have it in the corner of my eye. If there's any like questions that you have, please go ahead and ask them. If I can, I will integrate it into the recording. Otherwise, I will answer it after I'm done. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. We're talking about HTTP status codes. Okay. Hello and welcome to this lesson about HTTP status codes. So first of all, what exactly are they? Well, status codes are a number response that we can have to our web servers that will tell the client or whoever is calling them some information about why the thing succeeded or it failed, or maybe something else is going on altogether. I've got a basic web server up here, but with no real, routes going on. And in Thunder Client, I've gone ahead and hit it already, and we can see that we got a 404. So this is actually an example of the status code. It's probably the most popular, it's the most well-known status code that there is. 404 being defined as, well, whatever we were looking for was not found. Now, there's a lot of meaning and there's a lot of sort of like thought that has to go into choosing which status code you're going to return with. In this case, Axum responded for me because I attempted to hit a route that I didn't have. And this will happen several times. There'll be 500 status codes if things crash and fail or you return with an error. 200 status codes if things are successful. And then 400 status codes if you try to deserialize like JSON coming in into a Rust struct, and then there's like not enough something to fit. Like you want a string and it's a number, or you want something else and it just doesn't work. In that case, it would become a 400 error because it's the client's fault. Let's talk about status codes more. I like to go to MDN's website here. The HTTP status codes, as we can see listed out here, we have information These aren't really used that often. I've not seen them. Well, I've not seen them very often in the APIs that I've used. So I generally don't have to worry about them too much. The ones we have to worry about as API developers, well, at least the ones we have to worry about the most are success. So anything in the 200 range. And when we say 200 range, you often see this as like 2xx. And that just really means 200 through 299. The 300s are redirections. So these aren't really errors per se. These are more on the networking side where it's something like, ooh, we decided to change getting all of the games from our game API from like slash games to slash like API games. Well, we might leave a route at slash games and say, ooh, there's a redirect that will return if we go in here, a 301 permanently moved, and then tell it to where it is. It's like the new URL is given in response. So we have to tell them where to go. We have the 400s. The 400s are always client responses. So I always like to think of it like it's, from the perspective of the API, it's you messed up. And then server errors are, well, I messed up as the API. The first one in this is the generic message. So like a 200 is always just going to be, yep, everything's okay. There's nothing more to know here. It's very generic. We don't know exactly what that means. And that usually just fine. It's the same for all the other ones too. It's like 400 is like you messed up, but not like I don't have a more specific code to necessarily give you. And 500, that's actually pretty common because sometimes we don't know exactly how we crashed. It's like, okay, something happened. We don't something's wrong. We don't know exactly how. So choosing the exact status code can be interesting. Now, let's say we want to actually respond with status codes in Axum. Well, we've already seen sometimes that this is happening for us. We've seen 200s just automatically when we respond with something. Let's go ahead and set that up with an actual route. I'm going to create in routes a new file. We're going to call this status codes. And we will mod status codes. I will open this over here. All right, we'll have a pub async function status codes, and we'll just return nothing. And back in our router, we'll pull this in. So use status codes. And for our routes, we'll do a route. Let's do, I guess we'll just do status and we'll just keep on hitting this over and over again and then give different status codes. So status, let's just do a get request. So import get from Axum routing get, and this is our status codes. All right. So if I now hit this, but we go to slash status codes, we get a 404. What happened here? Because it's status, not status codes. Status. So we get the 200 OK. And we're going to get that automatically by Axum every single time that just our route handler succeeds. It doesn't matter what happens in the route handler. It just, that's what we get. Okay. What if we want to return one of these standard status codes that we see in Firefox here? We say, okay, I want to return, let's say, a 201, as if like we've created something. Okay. There is a status code struct that's re-exported by Axum. So it's from the HTTP crate. But we don't have to go and like get that directly. We get it from Axum. And we can use that here. So we can just say, okay, what if I want to just return a 201 and that's it, like nothing else? Well, you're going to return a status code. This is going to return an Axum HTTP status code. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. And then in here, we're going to return a status code. And then we have all of the possible status codes that are sort of official. These are the standard ones I want created in this case. So if I hit return there, we let our server restart and we hit go. We now get this 201 created. Okay, perfect. Now, having just a status code on its own is good, but you notice that I can't necessarily return more than the status code. So what if I want to return like the status code and some data? Like for example, I'm creating something in the database. So I've created it. Now I want to return it. So let's go ahead and create a little struct and actually get that set up. So I'm gonna do a struct. Let's do just like, I don't know, we'll call it just data. We'll just have something here like one. This could be like a U32 and maybe like a message. It could be a string, basically just some random data for us to set up. This, you need to be public here. And this does need to derive serialize. So let's go ahead and create this here. So this will be our data equals, we have data, we have one, it can be that number one. Our message can be hello from data. And we'll 2-owned that. Now, how to actually send this back? So we have a couple choices here. We can tell Axum exactly what we're going to send back, or we can just tell Axum we're going to just send something back that's legal and valid, and it's going to be okay. Let's first start with the telling Axum explicitly what this is going to be, and then I'll refactor that into just like, yeah, it's just whatever. So we can tell it we're going to return a tuple type. So a tuple. And it's going to be two things. The first thing is going to be the status code. And when we're returning tuple types, the first one always, like, if we're going to set the status code, it has to be the first item. It can never be not the first item. I don't necessarily have any evidence of like why it was set, but I saw in a video that the sort of reason for this is that if you have the ability to set the status codes later on, you might accidentally reset it. You might set it twice. In that case, how do you know what's really happening? You might like have a number that you want to return as the actual data, but then it might actually set the status code. So just having it be consistent and always at the beginning lets you know that if it's a number, it's going to be the status code. And now of course it would have to be like a special status code type object, but we'll get there. So this will be a status code that we're sending. And then the second thing will be JSON. And then you will be that data. And so we turn you into a tuple type here. So for our status code created, and then we have JSON data. Okay. Everything is compiling as we expect. So if we send this, we have that 200 created, and we have our data heading back, our data coming back too. So perfect, exactly what we expect. But of course, this can be a little bit annoying to have to write out, especially, this data is going to change on us constantly. So if we want just something simple for this, we can change this into an impl into response. Now it comes from response, so Axum response into response. And you notice that as I save this, everything recompiles as expected, and this still runs as expected. We could change this number to 2, just to make sure that it really is recompiling fine. And yeah, it is. So this is telling Rust essentially that whatever I return here, I want it to implement the into response trait, which then actually does have. If we go and take a look at into response, it's implemented for a tuple type of 2 things. One being a status code, and then just something like JSON that's a responder. Okay, so this is how we can respond with standard status codes. What if we want a custom status code? So it's actually legal to use status codes that aren't on this list. So for example, in the 200 series, we can see that there are some gaps here. It doesn't all go all the way up to 299. If we keep on looking down, let's see, we have 208, then there's a gap between 208 and 226, and then just nothing more. That's it. There's nothing more. Let's say we want to use 299. We want to say that our application, we understand what that means. It's custom for us. It's legal because it's within the 200 series, so it still says that something was successful, but we have just a little bit of extra message about that. So I can create a status code just on its own. So we can do let our status equals a status code. We're going to do a from. Now it can be like a stir, or we can do a from U16. And this will be 299. Now, a U16 can go a little bit higher than the 9999, which is legally allowed. And so if it's outside that range, it has to fail, which of course would be an error. It doesn't want to panic, so it turns a result for us. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and unwrap this. We know that this is 299, so it cannot fail. Or at least their documentation really says it's not going to. And I went ahead and looked at the code base. It's really interesting to sort of go in and take a look at this, and we can you can see, okay, it actually is going to like look through if it's between 100 and 999, we're okay, turn to the status code, otherwise return the result as an error. And then we're going to replace U with status. And that's it. That's all we need to do to have a custom status code. So now if I hit send, we now see we got a status 299 and our data. So that's it. If I wanted to return just the status code, I don't even have to change this. The impl response will just work. We could just comment this out and return status. And I just get the 299 without anything. So hopefully this is helpful in now allowing you to set and use whichever status codes you want, even custom ones. I do recommend that you stay within the 200, 400, or 500 range. It is technically legal for you to use the ones outside of those all the way up until 999. But I really think staying within those 2, 4, and 5 are the best bet for making your API sort of like understandable by everybody else. So with that, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next lesson. Bye. All right, we are done with that. King, hello. How are you doing today? It's going pretty well. We're getting good. We actually did a video well, and that worked first try. So I'm happy about that. let's rename that. So that is Axum status codes. I'm doing pretty well. Halfway through the week, which is always nice. Zilby's hanging out with us, although he's now looking upstairs. I think he heard something going on up there, so now he may or may not want to go investigate. Okay, so nope, didn't want full screen. I wanted that. Okay, so we've done you. We've done you. What would be next? What do we want to do next? Let's look at my list. Okay, so we have custom success. Responds with an error. And then a custom error. So I don't think I need an error because we can do errors like that. So I think I can get rid of that one. Which here we can take a look at what I'm working on here. I think we can move this down, change you to be more like that. Custom errors. That's going to be interesting. I go back and forth on what I think is my favorite method of doing custom errors. Probably not live on stream, but you could share it on Discord, and I'll take a look at it later. After I'm done. Like, what are you looking for? Are you looking for just like feedback on it, or? Just feedback. I mean, yeah, I can. Actually, I have. Let me double check that this thing is working. Okay, so I have block that, and yeah, I should be able to open that in here. You okay with me opening this on stream, or do you want it more private? Yep. Okay. Perfect. Oh, I need to turn off that timer too. Which that disable. Okay. All right. So, I like you're using you've got a little icon there, which I don't even have for mine. I need to do that. So that's good. Sort of like shows right off what you're interested in, who you are, what this is about. It's okay. So it's nice in that it's like good sort of like graphics, but I can't read it. As in, like, I have a lot of trouble reading this. That might just be me, but it's my brain is like, I think it's like the I don't know what that's called, like the shadow effect or something. other than with the animations is making it really tough. Um, so I like it. I wonder if like maybe you should have like your name also somewhere else, and then this could be some other part of it, maybe a header. You build backend for the web. Um, Software engineer with over a decade of experience in building web applications. You have created and maintained a wide range of web applications for small business websites. To enterprise applications, you've worked with various programming languages and technologies. We must become with Go, JavaScript, and PHP. Okay, awesome. Are you happy getting a job with all of them? Yes. Okay, perfect. I know some people they're like, oh yeah, here I've worked in PHP, but then when I asked them, I was like, are you willing to get a job in PHP? They're like, oh no, no. And I'm like, then don't put it on your website. Just hide it. Like, pretend you never did that. Um, is this is it purposeful to make it look like it's markdown but not be markdown? Yes. Okay. I wasn't sure, which because I'm not sure, I don't know. Because these other things didn't have that, right? Like you didn't have the hash 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 up here. Fake markdown, yeah. I guess like design wise, I don't know if it's consistent with the section up here. Right, it can be with the yeah, it depends. Yeah, it could that's also is that also markdown or is that just wiki markdown? Um okay, so everything looks fine here. If we go to well, we're on your website, right? So I don't know if you need a link to the website from the website. Your GitHub. Okay, it opens up a second page. Awesome. So good. You've got things up here. Yeah, okay, good. Your LinkedIn looks good. It's like one thing I've seen a lot is like people link to like sorry, LinkedIn. Your GitHub looks good. Um one thing I've seen a lot is like people linked to like to GitHub but then don't have anything on there, which is kind of funny if you think about it. Stacking, hello. Does look like it had a parser error, a pair error. Or was that in GitHub or somewhere else? And then you have your LinkedIn, TopTal, you have your resume in PDF form and your resume in web form, which is nice. Okay, so you've got those in GitHub. I mean, I think this all looks fine. So to me, I'm not like, I don't think it's a problem. Like, I think most people that would be checking for this are not going to care that much about like the design for this. If they're coming, oh, parser error, the faked markdown. Yeah, I can see that. Like, so I go back and forth on this. Like, it's not this design pattern isn't used anywhere else in your site. It's used here. It's not used up here. And there's no real sort of like reason for it. Um, so I don't know if this is giving you any benefit, but then again, I don't know if it's like hurting you either. Um, what I would recommend is send this out to a recruiter and ask them for feedback. Like ask the recruiter for feedback from their perspective because they can let you know like ooh this like made me think that like there was an error or something like that and if a non-technical recruiter thinks that, that's a bad sign. You don't want them to think that. From my perspective, I think it's okay. I could sort of, I was able to figure out what's going on really quickly by like just sort of trying to use it. Like this isn't selectable. It's like basically being added in probably by CSS or some like other types thing in here. And I mean, yeah, CSS. Yeah, I figured. If you wanted to add in just like other like your portfolio projects, like link to individual projects, that can help sometimes, but again, I don't know, it really depends. Like I have the website I have, I have like a link to the projects inside of there as opposed to just out here. Marketing basics would be nice to learn, like having a general theme for a product, which is the dev in this case. Yes. Yeah. Know your audience. So like whoever you're trying to like have this website sell to, which I'm guessing is recruiters, find out from them what they think. Cause like I can tell you all day that like I like it or don't like it, and it doesn't matter. Like none of that will matter if this won't get you in like past the recruiter. Projects to be front and center. Recruiters are lazy. They're not going to hunt for them. That's also true. A lot of recruiters are overworked and underpaid. Recruiters recently went through huge layoffs with a lot of companies recently. So there's a lot less of them in the industry. And so the ones that are left are taking up the slack of everybody else. So they're spending even less time, I believe, on everybody's resumes. So if you want to add a little bit more, you tell us that you have worked with various programming languages and stuff like that. I've never known a recruiter. Well, I know a couple recruiters, but they were technical in the past, that have gone to GitHub to like look at things. To make this more of like a standard pattern, what if you like added more sections that had projects, like a list of your projects with like just one sentence, a list to the hosted project, a blurb about it, why you worked on it. If it's worked for like another company, you can still put the project in there. Then you could just say like, yeah, it's behind an NDA, so I can't actually tell you, like, you know, show you it, which recruiters understand and know. So I agree with that, stacking front and center for the portfolio. You're looking for a job too, Drama? Yeah, it's a rough time right now to look for jobs. And in the States, it like the tech companies are hiring again, but it's odd. They're hiring for some of the positions they laid off, and those are not necessarily like easy positions to fill. Like they're not going to be like web development type stuff. They're going to be more for like, you know, the specialized things. Something also, have you set this up so you can like A/B test it? Like maybe you can like customize it for recruiters or for like industries. Give yourself a little bit of edge there. Also, I haven't tried this, but let's crunch it down. Ooh, okay. You've got good you've got good reaction here. So this responds really nicely to be crunched down to a really small window. That is excellent. This is so much easier to read at this size. I can actually read this now. So I guess a heads up. I don't know if you want to cap the size. Twisted your Twisted Seed, you're going on call next week. It's your first time going on call. Good luck. I've done it before and I am happy never to do that again. You're going to make it smaller. Okay. That's good. Is this an image? No. No, okay. It is full CSS for everything. I can't select it. Wait, can I select it? Oh, but I can't actually copy it. Animation is done using JavaScript. Okay, so you know what? I would call that out. I would basically like all these things. If that's what you're trying to if that's what you're trying to like to show off, that you can do like fun things, you can make things pop for your clients, and you want to set that up, like let them know that we can do this. Make it bigger, bring back the Windows Phone UI and have it cut off. Oh yeah, the old days before we realized that phone users actually wanted to use the internet. But yeah, okay. Does that help, King? Is there anything else, like any other questions that you have for this? Otherwise, we'll probably move on. All right. Let's see. So you're done. VS Code, you get out of here. We're done with you. Ooh, I closed that. Did that actually? Oh, I hope that killed the server. I hope that killed the server properly. Right. And the next plan here. Oh, his name is on a canvas. That explains why you can't select and copy. Ah, okay. So using canvas there. I mean, canvas is fine in that case. I don't know if people would try to copy and paste your name from there to send something else, to send somewhere else. Oh. This is a good point. I didn't check the source code for it, but King, put on, if you don't have it already, put on some kind of metrics on your metrics gathering on your site. You want, like, even if it's just like very basic Google metrics or something else, you want to know if somebody like got it. Okay, you're adding Google tag. Perfect. The idea for this, there's some cool things you can do. You can basically hand it out to people and then verify, ooh, did they actually look at it? Most people aren't going to use, like, most recruiters aren't going to use a VPN to like access your website. So if like you see something from the town or city that you're contacting, most likely that's the recruiter who's like looking at it. So that can like help you know, all right, this person actually is interested. And then if you have yours is pretty simple, so you probably don't need to do anything. But if you have like a more simple something, throw in like Sentry or some kind of error handling stuff. If there's any errors in that website, you need to know immediately. But yours should be fine because it's not going to be that complicated. Drama, you saw Zellage before, you haven't gotten into it. Looking nice. Yeah, so I do like Zellage a lot. It's still in like sort of beta, so we every once in a while run into little bugs, but for the most part, it's been pretty good, pretty solid. I do like it a lot. I've convinced a few people in town here to try it too, and like actually switch over from Tmux, which is nice. The main feature I haven't been able to do because I don't have team members to SSH into the same box with me to play around with it. But apparently it has like live multiplayer. It's like we can have multiple people with multiple cursors all together at once playing around, which would be interesting to see, but also not like I don't want to give you all access to like SSH to my box. I don't think that's a good idea. So we're probably not gonna ever do that. Zilby, you turned around again. Sounds like the best idea. Oh, it's the best idea. Like Twitch streamers just giving SSH access. Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? All right. I will turn that off while I reposition. Okay, let's try this. Free compute. Yeah, totally just give you free compute access. I mean, maybe someday we can try that with like a an EC2 instance. We'll just like spin something up, and then we'll just all like SSH into it, and then I'll just destroy that immediately afterwards. Or we'll just do like a DigitalOcean droplet or something and just keep it up for an hour. All right, but next thing, um, custom errors. So basically, I think what we want is like probably like handling errors. So that's going to be the right article and video. Okay, so that means you're done. Okay, so we can buffer close you. Oh, I probably want to keep one of you open. I want like a, so we want a new, we want to write, is it gonna be Axum handling errors. Handling errors in Axum. So we got that. Let's also grab the video. Okay, so by the end of this lesson, you will be able to. So what do we want to do for this? Also, we can kill you. Close you. That should kill the cargo temp, I believe. And that port hopefully is freed up again. Hopefully. Okay, so custom error messages. So I guess it's not just errors. Like, how do we handle any kind of errors? So we have errors coming in from a couple different locations. We have like we're trying to do something from like a database, and I want to do custom error like object. I'm looking through my list of this. I don't think I have anything else for errors, right? Yeah, not really. Okay. I I guess like how to respond. Okay, so we want to be able to return with a result. So return a result. It's going to have um a custom error response. So I guess this one will be like create. Okay, you'll be able to create a custom error struct, but also I guess like the different types of errors, so like return, you'll be able to return uh, a result with an error. So return a result with an error, and then create a custom error struct that then you can return to. So I think those two together would probably be what we want to do. Or at least one of those two. Now I have error. I have everything I need, I believe. Do I have my logs? Well, regardless if I have my logs or not, that's what we're doing. Let's create a new route for this. Oh, that is super cute. Zilby's head is like right below the camera. So he's like hanging off the edge of his little bed. And there's I don't know, I can maybe move it around, but he's also sleeping, so it just looks like a big furry mound. I don't necessarily want to wake him up. Okay, so touch short sprouts. I want to errors. Yes. Okay, so errors. I should change stream title. We're now working on errors. Handling errors. Let's see. So I want probably two different ones. So we want pub function. Um, so like using result. Are you gonna work? Uh-oh. Oh no, the address is already in use. So with VS Code, I accidentally, and this happens every once in a while with VS Code. It actually happens any once in a while with any terminal. If you kill the terminal, but you forget to kill the server, it may or may not properly unbind the port. So the port is still in use, which means that I might be able to kill it. Let me see. IPS Axum. I want user. I want Captain Birdbrain. Hello. Good morning. How are you doing today? Thank you. It is we're using Zellage here today. Zellage, and then I guess like Zellage as our sort of like TUI window manager, and then we also have Helix too. So like I guess the two of them together is our TUI. Let's see, PX. Oh, what did I use for? All my sysadmin trips I've forgotten because it's been too long. I probably want dash. Okay, I just want capital A. Oh, I'm searching for the wrong thing. I want like what do I have there? I need grep. I need to like grep or because I still don't have rip grep, unfortunately. Are you running? Okay, so do I have Axum old Axum running? I have. Okay, so I have that one. Let's get rid of you. Do I have any other cargo watches still running? I see my cargo temp is running. I have my Helix. Oh, I don't see. Okay, I don't see anything like that. If I search for everything and I grep for Axum. Huh, I see target. Is that a zombie? That looks like a zombie. I'm killing that. I'm killing all that. Or that's my grep. So I don't know. I didn't see the port. Oh, but I successfully killed it. So now it's running. Perfect. Which means that I can do a get request and we can see the result out of here. So if I open up Insomnia again, let's do a get to slash, what did I call it? Using result. Okay, we got just a standard 200. Okay, that's fine. All right. If we want to use a result here, we do result. Our first thing would probably impl into response. We can't do that for the error. The error has to be like a specifically typed thing. So oftentimes this would end up being something like, I want a status code and then a very specific like message here. So this I usually don't like to use just like a string, although that's certainly possible. I would probably want like a very specific error struct. But we'll probably start with a string and then move on to create the custom error struct and then return that. So if I do that, yes, I know you don't have that. It's okay, don't worry. So we want to return an error. Then we have a stat. We'll have status code. You can be, I don't know. You have non-authoritative information, and then also a string would be you don't get to know. I don't know. Why are you upset? Type annotations needed can infer the type parameter t declared on the enum result. Oh, for the impl into response? Yeah, it's the impl into response. It's not happy with that. Cowtail, hello. How are you doing today? You love the lazy choice. Hopefully you can build something fast enough while it's all fresh in your mind before it starts to fall apart from having improper types. I have faith. You can do it. And you're doing well? Excellent. Okay, so that's happy. That's running, which means that I can run the same thing We'll hit send, and we get a, oh, that's a 203. 203, non-authoritative information you don't get to know. I suppose that it's not really, like, that message tone doesn't really work with that specific thing, but the general idea is there. What's our scenario? What should we pretend? We've done like pet adoption store. We've done a few different things. There's something nice about using a scripting language to quickly demo an idea and then translate it to Rust for better management and performance. Oh yeah, yeah, that's a really good idea. I've heard of I have a friend who worked at a design team, and that's what they did. They did their designs in just like whatever language they wanted to. So oftentimes they were using Vue and JavaScript to sort of like just create an app, make it really fast, make it like, you know, good quality, but not permanent. And then they could hand the entire app over to the team that was going to build it for real as essentially documentation, along with the written documentation of like what it's supposed to be and all the feature requests. They can basically reference it while building it again in whatever technology they wanted to use for real. So totally understand. It's a good pattern. Vue is your baby. I like Vue too. I actually like Vue more than React, and I get to use it at my day job, which is really nice. All right, return a result with an error. So let's do this. So returning a result. Oh wait, I already literally wrote that title there. All right, we all know that code can fail. So it's probably a good idea to handle failure states. Demolroy, hello, good morning. How are you doing today? This is especially true when we have our users providing input for our API. If so let's add in here, describe why we want to handle our errors. Describe why we want to handle our errors. So we ran into this yesterday. I actually thought that if I panicked inside of a route handler, that it would give me a 500 error. But no, that's not what happens at all. We get some fun stuff. So public sync function, we panic. So if I do that, we head back over to you. Okay, so we have Panic. All right. So we should be able to see this down here in our result. But if I go to Panic, we do a get request, we just get error. Unknown response code. So it doesn't send any response code whatsoever. The server does respond with something. Now this is different than like something like Express. I believe that with Flask and Python it's the same thing. I think with most web server it's actually going to be the same thing, where if it crashes, it crashes. But it kind of does, kind of doesn't for Axum, which is interesting. If I go back to that other route that we had, no, not. What did I call it? Oh, using result. It's still working. Like the server stays up, but it crashes that it crashes that I don't even want to say session, because I don't think that's correct. It crashes out of the route handler and then it gets handled, but it doesn't get handled in a nice way. So it just returns nothing at all. No status codes, no nothing, which absolutely, I don't know any clients, like a web clients, that could possibly handle that. It would be really upset. They want some kind of status code. React feels very program-minded, so if you have an unfortunate bit of logic needed for rendering something, it could take a moment to wrap your head around. But with Vue, those things are a bit separated, so it's easier to grasp. Very convenient to know where to look for things, too. And if you have two different people, for one working on code and one working on styling. The other thing for Vue that I found is that it's easier to onboard people to Vue apps than React apps. On top of that, if you're coming from, like, let's say a design background and you're not like super familiar with, like, you know, all of JavaScript, and then it's also easier to onboard into Vue as well. There's really good sort of like patterns that just sort of like, oh, just do this. And then the final thing is Vue contains some magic in the form of the event system is pretty awesome. I love that. And then oh, what is it? The computed properties. Computed properties are magic. And like, I don't know how many times, like, how do we do this thing? It's like, oh, just let's just add a computed property for it. Okay, we don't have to worry about it anymore. It's just problem done. With React, there you have to write all the code to handle that, or you have to bring in a lot of libraries to sort of set that up for you, which kind of sucks. You being so easy to work with just makes me want to start another project with it. It is really nice. I do like it. With you, I do feel that it's sort of halfway between Vue and React. So it's not quite to where I want it to be, which makes me sort of like excited to try some of the other Rust projects. See if I can get something a little bit closer to Vue in my mind. Fidelior. Hello. Good morning. How are you doing today? Do it. You want a working prototype by Friday. I mean, the thing with Vue is you probably could get one. It's fast too. Or at least it's fast to build something. What happens if the result was an error? We can simulate this by creating a route handler and running panic. Can we? Okay, no. Let's actually do it for real. That way people believe me. Let's create a function that returns a result. So we'll do function can fail. And this just returns a result. We don't care about the success and then the error. I can just do an error. If we do this after the error handling one, then I can do this as an actual result, an error result. So I don't care about you. And so I want to return inside of you an error. I think I just bail. I could bail. We can say I always fail. Why am I in here? I don't want to be in here. Okay, so let's pull. Oh, you don't. Oh, you don't know what type that is. Okay, so I want to use error. No, use error results. What are you upset about? Mismatch types expected. A standard result. Why are you expecting a standard result? I want to use that result. So expected a standard result found unit type. I need something like that at the end. It's like, hey, bail. Okay. Cannot find. Okay, so we need you. Let's remove you. Okay, so we panic. Okay, so let's do let. We'll just call can fail and unwrap you. That's what we want to do. So I need you. Okay, you claim you're now unreachable code. Okay, so you're unreachable, but if I do that, you're upset also. Okay, never mind. You're not upset. You are upset because we don't have this using panic. Okay, so you're fine. You're all happy. And if we, okay, so we can simulate this by creating a route handler. And a function that returns a result, and have that function always fail. We'll use the guess we could do error, and I'll have to go find that. Error results type error results along with the fail macro for this. Coding is weird. Hello, how are you doing today? When will the platform be completed, or is there a link to the demo? I do have the platform like super MVP completed. There's not really much there for this right now, but if you go to learning.brooksbills.com, this is, this exists, and you can actually go and sort of see, this is gonna be what we're working on, and I've got some of, in like preview, I've got some of the articles that we've uploaded in here, and so you actually can see them. It's like, okay, we have the trailer, which I haven't actually created the trailer, I don't believe, but we have like a prerequisites, we have SAMP VS codes. I've got also an example of what, like, I have the note on cheating, which is a private video right now, so you can't actually see that. So you can sort of like see how it's going to be, but if you were to attempt to purchase it, I've got it set up to test mode with Stripe. So you would have to you could use a the testing credit card with Stripe to purchase, but nothing would happen. It would like, you can't actually purchase the course yet. In fact, I think I may have removed the link altogether. So all you can do is sort of like see that it's going to be up there. My plan is to do a beta run through of the course live, and I'll probably be just like one-off creating purchase links for whoever volunteers / like for that. And so that's probably going to be like an extreme discount from like the super end goal for that. And I'm also expecting to only do that for like 5 people. So if you want to take a look at this, here is a link to that. I don't have any like sign up for the course at this point in time, or like, just like let me know when it's available. I wasn't sure if I wanted to create a mailing list for that yet, so I decided not to. You can create an account, but I didn't put in like send me an email part to it. So I'm too afraid to like actually use that mailing list, because I didn't like actually get permission from everybody. I still could do that, but I don't know. It feels skeevy to me. Okay, we can simulate this by creating a route handler and a function that returns a result, and have that function always fail. We'll use the error result along with the fail macro for this. And this is what this looks like. Let's go find the error. Create information before I forget. And then error has the bail macro inside of it. Okay. So if we run this, I would expect to get that same thing that we did with a panic. So, let's see, you're saved, right? And then that causes you to restart. Is this always fails? This is panic. Yep, okay. Um, and we don't. Okay, so this is not standard for an API behavior. We want to return status codes. It is interesting to note that the Axum server is still running after this, though. Having an unwrap fail or panicking will not restart the server. Rather, it will catch the panic and stay running. This is so that an error, that a catastrophic error won't cause the server to stop working. Okay, so this is that a catastrophic error won't cause the server to stop working for like in the case will stop working like for other routes that hopefully would still be working. But of course, if like your connection to a database is severed, everything will just return that unless you have some kind of error handling to let it know. Now, this is also interesting because sometimes this is something I hadn't really thought of before. Sometimes you want your server to crash hard. Let's take the the case of like an API you put onto ECS. So AWS ECS and Elastic Container System service. Uh, that is that is something that you want it to like if there's a failure, like let's say the database, like your connection to the database goes down or something else happens like that, your unwrap maybe on the database connection fails and panics, all your routes are going to fail and panic. It's going to be pretty bad. So what's going on? Well, Axum is just going to handle that, right? Like all your routes are going to return these errors. But if you have a health check route that's just like, okay, yeah, Axum is up and running, it returns a 200 okay, that's not cool. That's really bad. If the problem would have been solved by a reboot, ECS, like hitting that health check route, would think that everything's okay when in reality everything is not okay. You need to go in and like tell ECS to restart. So probably what you need to do is write some kind of like in-memory information, like, okay, we got this like this major error. It's like a really bad error. Health check should now return a 500. Like just have it return to 500 and we're not okay, and then that could tell ECS, okay, reboot the server, turn that one off, turn a new one on, and let's see if that one works. Because I've actually seen that sometimes. Just like, the database connection failed, but we just rebooting the server will work. It happens like, every few months. And then having that automatically happen for you, super nice. Okay, so I don't necessarily need to put that in here though. So that is why do we want to handle errors? We don't get that. So okay, returning a result from an error handler. So in this case, I might want to, okay, returning a result from the error handler. So or maybe I don't need to say that. We just say like I want to say by default, if it's the error side of a result, it's a 500, right? I guess we'll find out. So first of all, you're going to be very unhappy. So I need this to be you need to not use that as a result anymore. It's like you're a normal result. You can be, we'll do just status code. Oh no, we'll do the impl into response. And then if you're good to go, hi, welcome up. No? And then if you error, we want the tuple, which is then going to be the Actually, no, if we just do an error, so we just do a message. So let's do a string message. That's like the simplest, the next simplest step. So then I want to don't think that's what I want. I want you to be an error result, and then you be a normal result. Can fail. Okay, so we do an okay. We'll just do status code. I think it's okay. 200 okay if you're successful. Otherwise, I can't necessarily do anything about this. We have to map this error. We'll take in the error, and I need to convert it into this error, which is just a string. So in this case, we can format the error. It's going to be so magic when AI can build parsers, compilers for us with giving it examples of syntax and the translation. That would be really interesting. We could potentially have tiny variations of a compiler for a very specific use case. It's like instead of only having like one language that our code would all like compile to, we'd have a new language for every code base that we'd use. You'd settle for horrible performance if it could just pump out something working. I mean, you settle for that right away, but eventually it can get to the point where it's really good performance. I think there could be something for that eventually. I don't know if that's something we can like expect to see within the next few years, but I could see us getting there eventually. Okay, and then we can question mark you. So that's gonna be the next example, and then if we hit this, we now get 200 okay. Why? Oh, with the I always fail. That's not cool. So then I can't actually do that. We have to do the tuple type with the message like that. Oh, that sucks. So then format. Okay, so can error format. Hear that one. Okay. Probably internal server error. So we get that 500, and then we'll throw you in here. I was really hoping that returning an error would automatically mean a 500, but it doesn't. Unfortunately, Axum gives us a little bit too much control here, or maybe maybe the right way to say it is Axum has a little bit too little of opinion on this, and basically says like, yeah, it's 200. It successfully returned an error, 200. So yeah, we have to add that in, which, yeah, I mean, I understand it and it's fine. It just is slightly annoying. Python will have to step aside as these AI master pseudocode translations into real programs. What will, I mean, the real money then will be in debugging these programs, right? They're probably working with an AI. So my 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 sort of like thought of where we're heading after we sort of like bounce around between too little AI and too much AI is that everyone essentially has an AI companion. I don't mean like, you have a little pet that rides around with you. It's more of like going to be, okay, the equivalent of like, some AI that gets embedded into your editor or something like that. But you customize the heck out of it for your style, for your programming. So it's going to be like, okay, create like my language. Like this is my language. It'll also write like the documentation and interfaces for it, so it can be transported over to another AI. That AI can then create their own language from it. And I think that's where we're eventually going to head. We're probably going to pendulum back and forth and like go into like, okay, AI will literally replace humans for everything. And then we're going to go back into like, AI is useless. It couldn't replace us for anything, so we can't use it for anything. It's like, well, no, that's not it either. And then eventually it's like, okay, we're good to go. Sheriff, hello. How are you doing today? My day has been pretty good so far. It is Wednesday. I do realize that I have a meeting coming up pretty soon. So I'm gonna have to start the stream at around 8:30 today, instead of the normal like 8:45. You do hope to have a little monkey robot that your phone can sync into to operate as the AI, a real AI robot monkey companion. I mean, I think that's where real money is going to be, is customizing AI for people. And if you want your AI to have a little robot, like a monkey, like personality, or like a little body for it or something like that, look what we do with phones and accessories and everything else. You're going to get that. Like, we're going to have that. And who knows, maybe it's not one AI that we have, but we all have like 25 AIs. AI as house pets will definitely be a thing eventually. I know, but imagine if you have like your cat AI house pet that also helps you code. Won't that be amazing? And fluent whatever language you want it to speak. So like if you're not fluent in English, and this actually gets into an interesting thing. Imagine if your cat or your pet or your dog or whatever is fluent in English, you're not fluent in English, and it can translate for you. Sits on keyboard. You've forgotten your semicolon, AI cat. We all know that if this was a case, there would be a plugin. There would be some kind of extension or plugin or, action, like, module that you could install that would make your AI cat actually act like a cat and like sit on your keyboard and ruin everything. And it would be hilarious, and we'd all love it, and we'd all go over to our friends' places that have the AI cat and install it on their cat and watch it do it to them as a practical joke. Okay, so we have this. You are running now. So return your result from route handler. Let's update our example, a route to handle the error in a way that tells the client that something went wrong. We can do this by returning a result from the route handler. It'd be like Interstellar with adjustable humor settings. We'll be able to set our AI to 20% jerk. Yeah. Um, what I would be concerned about, and we'll probably see things like, okay, open source has like, you can set it to be 0% jerk or whatever you want, but there's like a million customization settings and it's really complicated, really complicated. Or you can buy like the let's just say randomly Apple cat, and the Apple cat, there's three versions. There's the consumer and the pro version of the cat AI. uh the pro one has 5, 10, and 20% jerk levels that you can choose, and the consumer one has just 20% jerk. Because we know that those will all be behind paywalls to update. In more like seriousness though, I am really looking forward to more companies starting to embed uh machine learning stuff on device. Something that I was really excited to see that Apple has been working on is like putting machine learning like in their watch, as opposed to sending everything to the cloud, having it process there and then return the response from that. I want to see that become more of the norm. And I really think that that's where we can start like taking a little bit of like, okay, our AI companion is going to be something with the machine learning that drives the AI inside of it, and then it really becomes ours and not just some cloud, like some device that all the brains are in the cloud behind some paywall that if we just turn off payment to, or they get upset at us for something, it just gets, well, canceled and we're screwed. I want to be able to own my AI cat. Yeah, you're really looking forward to more performant and small models that work on edge IoT. The future really is when it moves outside the data center and has good enough quality. Yeah, I mean, I will take really, really shitty quality right now for on device. I just like, I want to see more security minded decisions happening for this. Like, we're sending all of our data out, and who knows what happens to it. Um, and we can all guess it's not just that it sits there for AI crunching. It probably is sitting there to be hacked away. Even if they're doing nothing with it, it's there, which sucks. Like, at least I want to make the choice. Like, give me the choice. Like, okay, I can have shitty on device, or I can give it to you for better. Okay, let me have that choice. Okay, so let's update our example route to handle the error in a way that tells the client that something went wrong. We can do this by returning a result from the route handler. Um, so let's okay, so just from route handler. Um, so since this will be a real result instead of an error result, let's stop. Okay, so I kind of want to go back to what I had with this. Okay, I'm gonna go with this, and I'm gonna one by one set this up for us. Um, Drama Duke, hello. Were you here before? I could swear I saw your name in something. Yeah, you've been here. Or was that just the rest icon? I see that as like a crab waving, so I thought that was a hello. Harvest now decrypt layer. Yeah, that is a big thing in security. Get it onto your own system, and then you have forever to harvest it. And like, talk about AI. If we have AI helping to harvest and extract data, that's gonna be a bigger thing. Since it'll be